The Spellshop by Sarah Beth Durst is a really cute cozy fantasy that just came out this year, a few months ago. It's very new. I picked it up kind of on a whim, partly because it's so pretty. And then a booktuber that I like to watch, Elliot Brooks, was also speaking very highly of it. And I'm so glad that I did. I really enjoyed this. So this video is going to be full of spoilers. This is where I'm going to get into the character and some of the thoughts that I was having as I was reading the book. So if you haven't read it yet and don't want spoilers, I do have a spoiler-free review for it. And then you can read it and come back and watch this video. So I always love the idea of a character in a book who also loves books. I just think that is something that is easily relatable to, because as a reader of books, I love books. And so right off the bat, we have something in common with the main character and her friend and partner, Kaz, the spider plant. So I don't think that I'm actually going to go through this book in a linear fashion. I don't know that I'll remember in what order things happened anyway. So I'm going to start with the thing that stood out the most to me, kind of the big overarching character thing, which is Keela's connection to her childhood home. So at the beginning, Keela comes back to her childhood home as somewhere to hide. She has to escape from the big city because the revolutionists, her beloved library, is on fire. She needs somewhere to go, and she needs somewhere to stash the spell books that she has with her to keep safe and to make sure that no one else finds them or hurts them or whatever. She needs a safe haven, and that's the only place she can think of to go. And throughout the book, there is so much of her reconnecting with the places and the people and the feelings of her home as she goes through her old childhood home, finding things left by her parents, like the cookbook, some people who used to know her parents or used to know her as a child, the mer horse that she helped nurse back to health as a child, the boy that she was kind to, and her journey of falling back in love with this place and really appreciating it for what it is. After her time in the city, this island feels so clean and bright and colorful and beautiful, and there's friendships to be made. There's things for her to care about besides just books. And I found it so interesting that her parents took her away from this island, away from her home, to the big city, to Elysium, to give her a better life. The life on the island isn't the life that they wanted for her. And Keela, making her life in the big city, books being something that she really cares about, she has what she assumes is her dream life. Spending her days amongst books, not having to interact with other people, getting to care for books, getting to just spend time in the shelves with the smells and the feel. She just feels like it's everything she could have wanted. But then when she gets back to the island, Caltree, she falls back in love with it. I felt like, I don't know, I was having some weird feelings. As a parent now, you do what you think is the best for your child. It's all you can do. You don't know what the future holds. Sometimes you don't know if you've made a good choice until years later and you can look back on it. And for Keela, her parents wanted to take her away from Caltree for a better life, but then Keela comes back to Caltree anyway. She ends up back where her parents took her away from. I don't know, I found that very poignant and meaningful, that maybe the things we think are important in life aren't really the things that are important. Maybe as a parent, it's important to let my kids decide what's important in life to them. And it wasn't even so much the city life versus the country life. Take simple pleasures. Keela already appreciated simple pleasures with her books. It was more of just what really matters in life to Keela. And maybe she didn't even really know until she got to Caltree and was like, there is more to life than just books. Who knew? And I love that she got to reconnect with her parents in a way that she wouldn't have if she had stayed in Elysium, because coming back to where her parents raised her, there's just all those little memories and pieces of them and all the things coming back to her mind that are just opening up new emotional capacities within her. Okay, but other little things that I was thinking as I was reading. when she gets to her home in the first place, she just kind of expects that she's not going to have to interact with people the same way she never really had to back on Elysium. But things like when it was saying how she could just order food and have it delivered, and I was like, yeah, it's not going to work here. She's going to have to go interact with people to feed herself. And then she's building the fire in the wood stove for the first time. And in the story, it's just like working out for her. She piles up the stuff, she makes a little spark, and it just starts. And it was so easy. And I was like, okay, well, I guess it's a fantasy book. I guess making a fire can just be easy for a city dweller. Whatever. I accepted that little things like that can just work in a fantasy book, and it's fine if that's not what the story's really about. But then it starts smoking horribly, which was way more realistic. But then it's not just a, oh, haha, she has to learn how to do little survival things. It was also a good example of how the island people take care of their own, because her handsome neighbor comes rushing up to check on her because he saw smoke. And Tequila, that was like dart in the heart. Because in Elysium, when she was in the library and it was on fire, no one checked on her. There was only Kaz. She fled, no one even knew. Who even knew or cared whether she survived or not? And here on Caltree, this man that she barely knows came running to see if she was okay. That meant so much to her. I did appreciate that the romance was not the main thing in the book. It's not a fantasy romance or a romantasy. The romance was just a part of it, like a natural progression of back home. This was a childhood friend. He's helping care for her. They're getting to know each other. It was just very natural and easy, and I liked that part. Sometimes when the romance is the main part, it can feel a little forced, like they're so obviously written for each other. There's no natural chemistry, but this one was nice, and I like how Laren just kind of accepts Kaz. Kaz approves of Laren. And something that I liked about Keela herself as a character is not that she just cared about books. She views books as important. And the knowledge in books should be for everyone. It should be shared. And little comments like, she had read the pamphlets of the revolutionaries and she kind of agrees with them. So she can't assume that the revolutionaries either won or lost. She doesn't know what the current laws are right now, but she can see a need on Caltree, and she has the power of books and magic to help them. So she does. She doesn't follow the example of her government and hoard it to herself. She does what she can to help those around her. I was a little annoyed by the introduction of that one character. I don't remember her name. The redhead. Redane. I mean, she's introduced and there's still so much of the book left here. And at first you think it's going to be this weird, like, tension to the romance subplot because she gets rescued by Laren and sleeps in his bed, but that doesn't even really cause tension at all. But it does cause another extra 100 pages, little extra tail end, more plot being added that I didn't think was necessary. I think the main thing that extra character and plot added to the world itself was that we then have her, Redane's ex-fiance, come in on his ship looking for her, and we kind of get to see that just because he's been sent by the government, not every government employee agrees with government policies. So he makes a show of doing his job, but really he's not there to enforce the law. But what he cared about in the end was that the woman he still cares about has found some happiness. And now someone outside of Caltree has seen how bad it can get out here in the Outer Islands, how bad that storm was, and that magic could help them. So if there ends up being a book after this, hopefully that can be like the plot tie-in. We'll see. I don't know if there needs to be a book after this one. I thought this was very nicely well contained. All the little magical elements, just how much is woven in. The mer horses, the bear ghost tree spirit things, the unicorns, the winged cats that played a much smaller part than I wish they had. That all gave a really nice fantasy feel to everything. The main character having blue skin. As a Star Trek fan, there should always be a character that's blue. Oh, I remember another one of the things that I loved that just added to the flavor so much was how Keela and Kaz would share little factoids about things with each other. Anytime they're doing something new or learning something new, one of them will either directly quote or just share something they've learned from a book with the other person. And neither one of them is always like, I didn't need to know that. Okay, but I didn't ask. They always appreciate it about the other person. Sometimes when you are the bookish person in a relationship and you're talking about books, other people are like, that's weird, but okay. You're cute with your little love of books, but I don't get it. Between Kaz and Keela, they are both that way and they both get it. And I love that part of their friendship. Loved it. Also, if you read this for a book club, nickname your book club the Pinecone Coven, but tell other people outside of it that you're naming it the Pinecone Society and don't tell them why, because that will be very on flavor for the book. Okay, I feel like I probably should have kept notes as I read because there's probably other stuff that I forgot. But for now, I think those are the main things that stood out. Super enjoyable, loved it. I felt like I read this at the perfect time of year because our berries were ripe and I was eating blackberry cobbler while I was reading this and it was perfect. And I might look into more that she writes because I really enjoyed this one. It was cozy, it was happy, loved it. Thank you to my patrons, I appreciate you. There is a link to my Patreon and to my Instagram in the description. I hope you are enjoying whatever you're reading right now and happy reading. Bye.